The Brooklyn Dawn is in the building. Y'all know what it is.
5 seconds is up.
What we doing?
Let's go.
Come on. Rock with me. Brooklyn Dawn.
This Piece of the G's podcast, no gossip, no glitz, just two brothers talking shit, brothers talk about. I'm here with Red Hook's own Calvin Klein. Peace, brother.
Peace, bro. How you doing, bro?
All right. How's it? Give me a little history. How'd you come up? Where'd you come up at and such?
Born and raised, Red Hook Projects. You know what I mean? New York. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay. So, in Red Hook supposed to be one of the most notorious projects out. Is respect enough, or do you need fear?
Both.
Both?
Yeah, both. I prefer both.
So when did you make the transition? Like you came up in like regular community playing ball, doing different things?
Nah, not really. I played the piano. I played the
you
keyboard. I played the
Get outta
bass.
here.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I did all that. I played basketball in the PAO, you know what I mean? But for the most part, I grew up playing bass, keyboard, you know what I mean? And all
So
that.
you
know what I
music
mean?
in school and
Exactly,
such?
yes. 100%.
Okay. So how did you make the transition to like the street and such?
Got caught up watching the wrong people.
Oh,
For the
okay.
most part, you know what I mean? Albee Square Mall was where it really was popping at back then in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And you know, the original 56 was the one that's really running around at that time.
Absolutely.
And, I wound up, you know what I mean, taking into him and wound up being, one that was running around with him like all the time, every day, all day, just doing all the wrong things.
Okay. So you was with 50. You know the guys from Fort Greene.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We was DCEP guys, so we was around that era as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So when did you make a transition into being the Calvin Klein that people know now, the Brooklyn Dawn?
It started when I got locked up when I was like maybe 15 years old. I went to Rikers Island. I tell people most of the time that I didn't make my name on the streets. I made it in jail.
Oh.
That's where it really started. My first time going to Rikers Island. Got locked up for armed robbery. Then I came home and I got locked up again for robbery. And then from that point on, then it was like, it was being on the island for a minute, and then for the most part, gladiator school, and making a name for myself there. I got locked when I went upstate and went to Elmira, then went to Coxsackie. I came home in 1986. That's when the crack era was kind of booming. And then after that, it was launch time at that point.
Oh, okay. So in that era, did you experience all the things that, like when we was coming up was like the cars and the BBS rims and the changing your seats and all that? You had all that type of thing?
Yeah, of course, all that, you know what I mean? But I wasn't caught up into those type of things. I was caught up into, the gunplay type of thing, you know what I mean?
Okay.
And having as much weaponry as I could possibly have, because I knew at some point getting money was going to come with having to go through going to war.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I wanted to be prepared.
That's something. That's definitely something. So once you're entrenched in this lifestyle, how did you change your normal, like your family life and such? How did it change everything for you?
I was locked in because I was focused on what I wanted for not just for myself, but for my family.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like, it's you hold the court, you hold court, the rules, and you play the game the best way you know how. And from that point on, I just decided to just be all in and go all out. And, it really was no looking back. I never thought that I was going to make it to this point to be 60 years old. Even my own mom told me that she didn't think I was going to make it out of 22, 23.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? I was really going hard. My mind was locked into the streets, you know what I mean? Because I was focused on the money. When I saw the money, when I saw it was being made by certain people, I felt like I was able to do the same thing.
Right.
And then from that point on, I just tried my hand and just went from there and blossomed.
Okay. Well, I want to say happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Happy birthday, brother. We had his birthday party right here, so we celebrating the brother's birthday. So coming up during that.
We celebrate my 60th.
We celebrating your 60th birthday.
60th,
Absolutely. I mean, as a kid.
Milestone.
As a kid, I didn't think I would make it to 18. When I got to 18, I didn't think I'd make 25.
Wow.
And currently I'm 57, so I'm happy to be here as well. You know what I'm saying? Those streets sometimes would lead you in that direction, and but we here, so we fortunate.
Yes, exactly.
So your group, was it people that you grew up with, your family members? How did you compile a group of guys to have an organization?
Well, truthfully, it started with two.
Okay.
Two guys in my building. They was locked in. They was focused on me. and they wanted me to win. They
Right.
wanted me to accomplish, the things that I was telling them that I can actually make happen.
Right.
Once I realized that, you're only as strong as the connect that you have,
Right.
then that's what I started seeking. And then once I got that, which was Danny Dan from Austin
Right,
Projects. When I got with Danny, things just turned around within like a 24-hour span. I started with like maybe an ounce or so, and I flipped that, you know what I mean? And then by the next day, I went from an ounce throughout the whole night, all the way up until in the morning, all the way up until like maybe 12 noon. I was at like maybe about a half a key, but he was basically giving me half of what I was purchasing.
Right.
So if I bought an ounce, I got 2. If I bought 4 ounces, I got 8. You know what I mean? And by the next day, I had enough money to buy half a brick, which, he gave me a whole joint. And from there, I launched off. I was out of here at that point.
Oh, so were you confined to one building, you and your guys, or y'all had a good portion of the project?
Up under my building, they said you don't shit where you eat, though. But, in the beginning, that's what really was the case, you know what I mean? Like, I actually was hustling in Coney Island at first.
Right.
But, I really wasn't, not to say so much not comfortable there, but I was more comfortable doing my thing at home.
At home,
And then once that happened, then it was a wrap.
Okay. So, Danny Diamonds from Marcy, did you have a relationship with Jay-Z based on the relationship with Danny Diamonds, or was that something independent?
No, Jay came later, you know what I'm saying? Jay came later. It was initially Danny, and then after that, agreement that Danny and I both had, because keep in mind, I was hustling out of one of the largest projects in New York City, which was Red Hook, Queensbridge being the first. But, when Danny was trying to find his way in Red Hook, and, you really have to be someone as a resident to be in Red Hook, you know what I mean, to be able to really do your thing.
Right.
So he needed somebody, and that somebody wound up eventually being me. So, but when we joined forces, you know what I mean, we kind of, like I said, I'll let you in Red Hook if you let me in Marcy.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? And, but at the same time, I know what type of dude I was dealing with, you know what I mean? Like, he was heavy, he was strong, you know what I mean? He had all the pieces that I didn't have. Even if it was just knowledge and me needing somebody to guide me through all this, because I really didn't know much of nothing, you know what I mean? So having someone like him, oversee things, or, and I'm just following and, being tutored by him, it wound up working out perfectly for both of us. Because we wound up eventually having about 30-something spots in Brooklyn alone. Like this, we're not even talking about outside the borough, just in Brooklyn alone, we had about 30-something crack spots.
Just all around Brooklyn?
Yeah, just all around Brooklyn, from Red Hook to Gowanus to Fort Greene to, actually, of course, Marcy, Cooper Projects. I can go down the line, you know what I mean? But, at the end of the day, we was heavy all over. And basically, we were just buying niggas out.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, we was going certain places and like, yo, how much you working with? Okay, I'm working with 125 or 250. Okay, put your money in your pocket, I'll front you that.
Oh, okay.
Like, you know what I'm saying? And that's what kind of had us really kind of like all over the place and having everybody wanting to really deal with us, though, because we really had it like that.
So it wasn't like you was running in strong arm and you just had a good business acumen and you came in and made them a better offer than what they were already had.
Yeah, of course, but why would you want a strong arm?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Well,
like,
you said you had a bunch of guns.
Yeah. No, but that came later. You know what I'm saying? That came when necessary.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, just because you got a bunch of guns don't mean that you have to use them right away.
Absolutely.
Or have to use them. You use them when it's time to use them.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So, we wasn't on deck. We wasn't like, we was real smooth about what we was doing. Like, I was buying niggas out all day. Like, you know what I mean? Once I got that system, and then after that I learned my cooking game got crazy, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it went so many different ways for me to be able to make money. And then once I got a name for myself, then I became really getting money, because now it's like, I'm not just cooking, or I'm not just hitting niggas, like, you know what I'm saying? I'm re-ing up for niggas. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm really, really doing my thing.
Move your hand down. Okay. Good. Okay. So how long was your run from?
My run was short. It had its length, but it was short. I came home, I started in 86.
Right.
I violated my parole in 87. I caught a body in 88. I got acquitted in 89. I caught a attempt murder with Jay-Z in 89, 45 days later, after I got acquitted for the body.
Right.
and I stayed home. I got bailed out on that, and I stayed home for like 18 months. So my longest run, truthfully, was only 18 months.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? And then I got locked up in the feds in '91, and then I was facing forever. You know what I mean? And I pled guilty to 25 years, but I gave 10 years back 2 years later. And I came home in 2004. Then from that point on, I started managing Akon. I managed Con for like about 5 years.
Okay. So what happened with the Jay-Z case? He walked on that, or
yeah, he walked on it because we had a attempt murder to main, battery, assault, possession of weapon. We had a whole bunch of records, not bunch of records though, but we had a whole bunch of charges.
Right.
And only really because of the fact that we was from New York and we got busted in Maryland.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? And then I thought it made all the sense in the world to make an attempt to try to get him off the case.
Right.
Luckily, I did get him off the case. You know what I mean? And once I did that, a year and a half later, I went to trial. I was facing 40 years. Now, keep in mind, he would have been facing the same if we both would have went to trial together.
Right.
But it wound up working out. He testified on my behalf. You know what I'm saying? I wound up blowing trial, but I blew trial to 4 years.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So the 21 years that I had in the feds ran consecutive with the 4 years that I had. You know what I mean? With the state.
Okay. So when you see somebody, in our era, when you see somebody who has a talent or has a ability, whether it be basketball or some DJ and whatever it is, to not be in the game, do you encourage them not to be in the game? And was that the reason why you helped Jay-Z in that situation?
They often say that the advice that you give, you don't take yourself.
Yes.
That was me all day. You know what I'm saying? I would advise somebody not to do something, what not to do, but I would wind up being one to do it. You know what I mean? So yeah, of course. You know what I mean? I wouldn't advise. It's like I often tell people that I wouldn't. A lot of people say that I wouldn't be who I am today. I wouldn't change nothing. I don't agree to that. You know what I mean? I feel like that if I knew exactly what the outcome of my life was going to be, and I was going to do all that time in prison, or certain things were going to be affected to my parents and things of that nature. Like I mean, I asked my mom one day. I said, "Mom, why you don't dye your hair?" She said, "Because I earned every bit of grade you put there." You know what I mean? So my
mother used to say similar.
Yeah. So if I mean, I would be a cold-hearted dude. You know what I mean? If I look back at it and say that I wouldn't change that.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I have regrets, of course. You know what I mean? Because if I saw or if I understood what it was that I was getting myself into, because there's mad different ways of getting money.
Right.
So if I understood what I was getting into, I probably wouldn't have. I had a big issue about the kid Calvin that worked at McDonald's.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Hello, how you doing? My name is Calvin. You know what I'm saying? Welcome to McDonald's. But I didn't see the bigger picture. Right. I just saw Calvin working at the cash register. Right. I didn't look at the bigger picture saying that Calvin could possibly own the franchise.
Own it one day, yes.
So yeah. I'm better
now,
though.
Did it have an effect on you because y'all had the same name?
Yeah, it did.
It's like you got teased for
I
that.
felt bad. No, it wasn't even the point of getting teased though. Right. It was the point of just me feeling like, they use my name, in that sort of context. But my mental wasn't to that level where I would be able to understand, the difference between working behind the cash register and putting your work in, putting your time in. And waiting for your moment for you to be able to have something like this later on and saying that you own it now. Right. So that's what I was about.
So I've seen interviews and, the word on the street, because I remember when you came home, the word came down like, your Klein coming home, whatever the case is. And everybody was like, yo, Jay-Z is going to make sure he good in these things. And I seen an interview where you said that wasn't your interest. You just wanted to see if he was like, all right.
Yeah. At the end of the day,
Rain actually comes from the recording.
At the end of the day, every one of us, we our own man.
Yes.
And I don't feel like most people probably would feel that, okay, they know Jay-Z and Jay-Z has this and Jay-Z has that. Right. But I didn't feel that way. You know what I mean? When I came home in 2004, the first person that called me when I was in the halfway house was Kevin Childs from Don Diva magazine.
Absolutely.
The second person 20 minutes later was Jay-Z calling me, telling me welcome home.
Right.
And then we had a conversation about what did I want to do.
Right.
And I told him, I said, I just wanted to enjoy my freedom. I got 5 months in the halfway house. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't come home, broke or messed up in any kind of way. So I had time to really kind of figure myself out, and he respected that. And I told him, I said, he felt in a way that the case that we both had back in the day, saying the Tim murder case, he felt like I felt like everybody else did, that he owed me something.
Right.
And I told him otherwise, you don't. I said, the only thing I feel that you do owe me is a hug and a welcome home.
Okay.
You welcome me home, and now when I see you, give me a hug and we good. He said, nah, I want to help you even more now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, and not to make the story so long and make it all about him,
right.
There was some conversations that we had, and in the conversation, some things fell short.
Right.
It's okay.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, not to only just say that I'm a hustler, but I studied law when I was locked up. I studied business when I was locked up, and I came home prepared when I got out. You know what I mean? I didn't come home with an empty mind. I came home knowing exactly what I wanted to do, knowing how I wanted to do it, and how I wanted to address it. You know what I mean? I wanted to enjoy my family after doing all that time. So it wasn't so much about me focusing on what he wanted to do for me, because I knew what I could do for myself.
Right.
The extra help wouldn't have been, would have actually helped. Okay, yeah, but it didn't. So when things fell short with me and him, and it was over some, like, out of the craziest way. Imagine somebody telling you that, or you telling them that there's a venue in South Carolina that you want to get. Now imagine this story, but it's real on my side.
Right.
But can you imagine you going to Jay-Z and telling Jay-Z that there's a venue in South Carolina that you want to purchase, but you have interest of?
Right.
Because he asked me what did I want.
Right.
So I said, I saw a venue in South Carolina. It's for sale. He said, find out how much it's worth.
Right.
I went $10 million. He said, you got that.
Right.
I'm not giving you no more because I'm getting ready to invest money into the Brooklyn Nets, and I'm getting ready to go on tour with R. Kelly to do the best of both worlds. Now, when I understood that, I understood my man telling me that only budget I got is 10 M's.
Right.
But then when the owner found out that it was Jay-Z purchasing the venue, they went back up to the original asking price, which was $13.5.
Right.
So now I'm not gonna go back to him and tell him I need 3.5.
Right.
Because he already told me that, that he only got 10 from me.
Right.
So, but at the same time, what I should have done was, I should have at least went to him and told him what it was.
Right.
But in my own business mind, in my own boss way of thinking, I didn't want to impose on him and tell him that.
Absolutely.
I made the decision on my own, and I walked away from the deal.
Right.
So he got upset. And the only reason why he got upset because Jay was feeling a lot of pressure from the streets on not doing anything for me.
I can imagine.
You know what I'm saying? So I can imagine that too. But I told him, I said, yo, that's not my problem, man. That shouldn't be your problem. This between me and you. We trying to figure this out, bro. So with that being said, things fell short with us. But I always had a trump card in my pocket. I had Akon.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? When I met Akon, me and Akon got like this immediately. You know what I mean? The first thing came out of his mouth was like, yo, Jay got you? Because if he don't, I got you. And I'm talking about I had just met him. Right. So with that being said, when things fell short with Jay, me and Akon started Convict Records. You know what I mean? And I was good. Like, I managed Conf for like 5 years, and I traveled all over the place, did my thing, passport stamped up crazy, and I was okay. You know what I mean? So, moving right along.
I mean, the fact is, I really didn't even want to ask about Jay, honestly. For me, you understand? I understand what the people want to see.
Yeah, I understand.
And, from a media standpoint, I kind of had to ask. But from me to you, when you say you're wrong, dude, that I really didn't.
I understand. I usually give 2 Jay-Z questions.
Yeah, listen.
You know what I'm saying? Because
like I said in the beginning, no gossip, no glitz. I don't really do that. But again, it's something that the people will want to hear. Because from me to you, you know that wrong. Do not ask. I don't do the gossip. I don't do that thing.
100%.
You know. So moving along.
That's why I'm sitting here with you. It's been a long time since I've done an interview.
I appreciate
I have interviews lined up like crazy. You know what I'm saying? But I like my privacy.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? But at the same time, I understand the entertainment.
Make me understand what it is that you're doing now. Understand you got programs and different things going on. So let me know what it is we're doing now.
Well, programs I'm proud of. You know what I mean? I tell the kids I'm a mirror of you, but I don't want you to be a mirror of me.
Right.
You know, I've been there, done that, but I don't want to tell them what to do, and I don't want to preach to them.
Right.
You know, at the end of the day, I've done what they're doing. You know, but I don't want to preach to them. So when I talk to the kid about carrying a gun,
right,
I told him I carried a gun when I was 14, 15 years old. So I'm not going to be a hypocrite and stand here before you and tell you to put your gun down. I'm not going to tell you to put your gun down, but I will ask you why you picking it up. You know what I mean?
I'll tell you what I say. No, I'll tell you what I say. You know, for people who carry guns, you know, the same dude that walk in the house and be like, damn, you know, I sure hope nothing don't happen when I go out today. I hope nothing don't happen today. Damn, I sure wish nothing happened. That same person, give that person a gun, you're like, shit, I wish a nigga would.
Yeah,
you know? So if you got a gun, you want to shoot somebody.
Yeah, that's true though. The gun gives you more power, more a shorter fuse.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Because if you got a gun on, if you don't have a gun on you, if somebody step on your shoe, you might accept the apology. Or you might not accept the apology, but you might not do nothing.
Right.
But if you have a gun on you and somebody step on your shoe, your reaction is going to be totally different.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you know, but for me, I understand, like, you know, sometimes when you got a gun, a gun that makes you a bully, more of a stronger bully to at that. You know
in most cases.
Yeah.
In most
so
cases.
I'm not like that. I've never been like that. Never been into that. I only use my weapon when necessary.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Because I'm not the type of dude I don't shoot in the air.
Right.
You know.
Okay. So, what do you have moving forward?
I have my program, my 501c3 program, Calvin Bacote Foundation, time program, teaching individuals my experience. You know, I got so much going on. I travel all over the place. I wrote a book called Neighborhoods Under Siege. I rewrote it actually. Volume 1 and Volume 2 is coming out soon. I'm just staying busy. I travel all over the place, you know, going to different schools. You know, I'm a DOE vendor, Department of Education. I go in and out of the prisons and talk to them, you know. But even when I go to the prisons, like, you know, especially if it's Rikers Island, and I'm with the adults and I'm with the adolescents, I tell them, I said, I need y'all to look across at each other. You know what I mean? I need father to meet son.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Because a lot of times they don't know each other. You know, they never cross paths with each other, but at the end of the day, they don't understand that they're related in some kind of way, whether even if it's father or son, or whether if they're cousins or whoever, whatever. You know what I mean? And that's what our issue is often, that, you know, and generational curses. Like, I hold myself accountable.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't want to take my story to my grave. I don't want people to tell my story for me. Right. You know, and also I got daughters. I don't want a young man knocking on my door and I ask him who is here to see. He's come to see one of my children.
Right.
And I ask him his name, and he say, I'm who you used to be. Yeah. That's my name.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that affects me a lot though, because I can't just sit down and be a regular normal dad, because I know who I used to be.
Right.
You know, and I'm not caught up with that person anymore. You know what I mean? A lot of people is caught up with it more than I am actually.
So your history affects your everyday life now?
Not necessarily though, but you know, I'm recognized.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm recognized, and I'm also recognized for what I used to do. You know, and that entices or excites people more than anything. Like, okay, my name is mentioned in rap records, big rap records at that. You know, my name is mentioned in interviews, or my name is mentioned in so many different names though, but you know, I'm not part of the culture, I am the culture. You know what I mean? I'm not part of the movement, I am the movement. You know what I'm saying? I'm not in the story, I am the story.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I know all these things and I understand them. So what I do is I often think for most situations. You know, I don't go outside if I don't have to. I won't touch the doorknob for 2 or 3 days if I don't have a reason to go outside. Right. My wife will tell you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I'm home. I'm a homebody. Right. But the good thing about being a homebody is better than being in prison, you know what I'm saying, and having them to have to control everything over you.
Okay. I'm gonna let you enjoy your birthday, brother. Peace and blessings.
You, man.
Thank you for the interview. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you.
Peace to the Jews podcast. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. Peace.
Peace.
You know, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much. All right. And you gotta
just take my number so you can.
Yeah, definitely. Listen, you gotta tell me when you got book events and all that. I'll definitely show up. You turned, yeah, you stopped it?